Okay, let's find that general form of the line. So general form, we want all terms on left. It doesn't really matter, but that's what our textbook goes with. So that means that I'm going to leave the y where it is. We want all terms on the left with the x being positive. Well, that'll be easy to achieve. When we move that 2x from the right to the left, it'll become positive. The y is going to stay where it's at. And the 3 will come over, be positive, and we get 0. And so we get y, or 2x plus 3 equals 0. Now, there is a little check you can do on these. And when you can do a little check, do a little check. This is supposed to be the line with slope -2 through that point, 4, -5. So we can see that the slope is -2, but we can't see automatically that it is going through that point. So we can check this by looking at a picture. So there's my calculator. I'll eventually change the batteries. And we're going to graph this. Y equals, and I said it was -2x minus 3. The standard window should work, so zoom 6. And there's my graph. And now we can do a trace. I'm going to hit trace, and up comes my cursor. It generally comes up at the y-intercept. And I want to see if I have the point 4, -5. So now I'm just going to type 4. And notice down at the bottom of the screen it says x equal 4. And then hit enter. And then it pops to the point and gives you the coordinates, and it says y equal -11. So something ain't right. It's supposed to go through the point 4, -5, and that guy goes through 4, -11. Now, there are two mistakes I could have made. Maybe I typed wrong. So I'm going to press y equals -2x minus 3. No, I typed it right, so that means I had to make a mistake somewhere. And I see it already. For some reason, I thought -8 minus 5, or excuse me, 8 minus 5, I thought was -3. It should stay +3. And so here's a reason why when you got a few minutes, check things. Everybody can make stupid little mistakes. 8 minus 5 is 3, not -3. And so then changing that over into my general form, when I move the 3 to the other side, it should be -3. Now let's check that answer. So instead of -3, we think now it should be +3. Zoom 6. There's my line. Trace. X equal 4. So put the 4 in there, hit enter. And it goes to the point, and now you can see down at the bottom there, just barely. Maybe if we zoom in a little bit. Zoom in. And it does go through the point 4, -5, which is what we wanted, so we know it's right. When you got a few moments in life, end of a test, and you can check some stuff, check it, because you might find silly little mistakes like we made here. And if you can't find your silly little mistake, if you check it and know you're wrong, write me a message on the test saying, I checked this, the graph isn't right, and you will get more partial credit for telling me you're wrong than not telling me. And if it was something just stupid like this, and you told me, yeah, it's wrong, and you just made a stupid little mistake, I wouldn't take anything off. Check your things that you can check. So there's our first writing equation of a line. Next problem. Write an equation of the line described, express your answer in point slope form, slope intercept form, general form. Again, we're going to do all three. On the homework, they don't ask you for all three. We're just practicing all three. But my first generic step always is to find the slope. Now, in this case, I just want to use my formula for slope. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. If it helps you, label your points. And so we have -6 minus 3, 3 minus 5, -9 over -2, 9/2. Do not tell me that that's 4.5. Do not tell me it's 4.5. 9/2. Then we use the point slope formula line. And so I get, and it doesn't matter which point you use. Now, I've labeled this one x1, y1, but I could use this point too. Use whatever point you think is going to be easiest. I'm going to go with the 5, 3 just because they're both positive, and then maybe I will be less likely to make a stupid mistake because I don't have to deal with that -6. But use whatever point you think is easiest. So I'm going to use the 5, 3. So y minus 3 equals 9/2 times x minus 5. And there is the point slope. Or, yeah, point slope. And when they ask for point slope, don't do any simplification with the exception that if you have a double negative in there, change the double negatives to positive, but do not multiply it out. Now we'll rewrite to slope intercept. And so distributing here, I'm going to have y minus 3 equals negative, or not negative, 9/2 x minus 45/2. Yep, got to just leave the fractions the way it is and deal with it. Then add 3 to both sides. And I get y equals negative, or 9/2 x. I don't know why I keep saying negative. Y equals 9/2 x. And then doing this arithmetic. We'll do it over here. 45/2 plus 3. That's 45/2. That's 45/2 plus 6/2 for 51/2. And there's slope intercept. Then general form. Clear the fractions. So I multiply everybody by 2. So I would get 2y equals 9x plus 51. Then everybody on one side, the x positive. That's just the way your textbook goes. Everybody on one side, the x positive. So 0 equals 9x minus 2y plus 51, or 9x minus 2y plus 51 equals 0. And there's my slope intercept. Now let's check this one and see if it's right. So for checking purposes, we need to go into this guy right here. And for some reason I'm feeling really bad about this, but we'll see. Clear. So we had y equals 9/2, so 9 divided by 2. And just for security purposes more than anything, I'm going to put that fraction in parentheses. So it was 9/2 x plus 51/2. Okay, all right. I already know I made a mistake. I already see it. I've started to type it, but I already see the mistake here. This was negative 45/2. So minus 45/2 minus 45/2, which will make this guy negative 39/2. So I did make a mistake. Before I even checked it, I found that mistake. So hopefully that's the right answer now. And before I correct all this, let's go ahead and check it, because I'm clearly not being very successful today in doing these problems. Checking that answer. So negative, or 9/2 x minus 39/2. And so I can put it in my calculator just the way it pretty much is. Zoom 6. There's my graph. Then it was supposed to go through the point 5, 3. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see it a little better. So it's supposed to go through the point 5, 3, trace, 5, then enter, 5, 3. That's good. We got 1 point right. And then 3, -6. So trace again, 3, enter, 3, -6. We got it. So it does check. And so that would have been, had I not seen my mistake before I checked it, we would have caught it. But we do know I'm right. It goes through those points. Let's zoom back out. And let's fix this. So still multiply by 2. And so when I multiply by 2, all those 2's cancel, and I get minus 39 here. And then minus 39. And I'm actually not making mistakes on purpose. It's just happening today, but we'll use them as very instructional things. Okay, we'll get this next one. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I don't believe we can get through the next problem in 4 minutes, which is what I have left. So we'll end the video here and then start the next video.